If you want to publish a book, but you feel stuck, out of time, and you don't know what to do next, then it's time to finish the damn book. Here's your host, Susie Schaefer.
Welcome to another episode of Finish the Damn Book podcast. I'm your host, Susie Schaefer. My guest today is bestselling author Shannon Cohen. Shannon has always held a deep love for storytelling, a place to listen, learn, and laugh. As a freelance writer, her work has appeared across a range of media, from grassroots advocacy to travel to women's nonfiction and personal essays on her digital diary, Prolific Preambles. A mother of 2 adult sons, a 15-year hospice veteran, and founder of Living Legacies Ventura County, Shannon is also the author of She, Share, Heal, Empower, Volumes 1 through 3. All of the above has been her most meaningful work to date. She has a foundation under the same name, She, Share, Heal, Power, where all book proceeds supports programs that educate and empower women through storytelling, reminding them that they are not alone. Shannon lives in Del Mar, California. Welcome, Shannon.
Thank you. What an introduction. Wow.
Oh, it's so lovely.
I hope I can give you everything that you're looking for, ma'am.
Well, you never disappoint me. Let me just say that. So
there's no pressure there whatsoever. Let's do this. All right.
So tell me a little bit about your journey. What specifically was frustrating or challenging the first time you published the books, the She books, volumes 1 and 2? Because I know you started out and already had those published before you actually started working with me and on volume 3. So what was difficult?
True. Very true statement. Well, not difficult per se, but just a lesson in humiliation, one, but also pride, due to the fact that I was navigating literary waters that were quite choppy. And I had never done this before. I didn't have anyone to kind of guide me. So I was on my own trying to figure out everything from, obviously, you have editing, you have copy editors, you have layout and design and graphic designers. There was just so much. And that didn't even account for Amazon and the behind the scenes there with the codes. It was just, I made it to shore, let's just say that, in my clunky little boat. But it wasn't as smooth sailing as it could have been. But also there was, again, that pride knowing that I did it on my own, and birthing 2 books like that was quite an accomplishment. I don't know if that answers your question, but it was definitely it was a jump into the unknown. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. And also the fact that working on a collaborative book like that, not only were you wrangling the authors, but you also have the entire section of the artwork in that as well. So
minor detail that I forgot about. Yes. Yeah. Forget the fact that I was just writing the book. Yeah. I had, in the first book, there were 24 women who I had interviewed, and then I would take that interview and craft their story, which was a chapter, but then, yes, paired it with another female artist. So it was a little bit like herding cats, but cute cats, of course. But it was definitely, you're orchestrating a lot of moving parts, but the alchemy of it all was beautiful when it came together. And there was just this symphony, truly, of stories. I like a good challenge, and it was one. And obviously I liked it enough to do 2 and 3. Volumes 2 and 3. But yeah, so it was, again, you forget about it. It's kind of like you do it, and then things change when, people come in to help you, but that's for another part of the interview.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what changed for you personally during that journey of publishing 3 books, working with 75 plus women?
Yeah, I think what changed for me as an author, as a person, I can answer that. They taught me so much about myself, right? They're just mirrors of, we all have trauma of some sort, dysfunction, however you want to name it. And it was so beautiful to sit in those sacred moments with these women and swap stories, no, letting them know as much as they're letting me know that we're not alone in this journey. And that was definitely a humbling moment each time I was with each woman, but also healing. And that was the whole premise of the book, Share, Heal, Empower. That's the community sisterhood, for lack of a better word, that I had attempted to come together organically. Of course, it wasn't forced, but rooted in storytelling and just wanting us to level each other up. And the only way to do that is learning from each other. So,
did you have any aha moments during this process of publishing the first 3 books?
aha moments. Yeah. My first aha moment was when I realized I can't tell you how many sets of eyes went on this volume 1. And I realized that there's just always going to be errors no matter what. And I'm a devil in the details kind of girl and fussy, combing over each of those pages and still missing. Like in the table of contents, we spelled 20 wrong. Like, how do we miss that? And this is several eyes. So I've learned, my whole mantra became, my aha moment was being perfectly imperfect.
Mm.
Like we're all flawed and mistakes happen and you just have to let it go. And so that was a big lesson in control for me, is saying, okay, you are not going to catch every mistake in the book. It's each book, depending what book you're involved with, it was 300 and some pages. It's inevitable. So
Yes.
that was, I think, probably my aha moment, maybe. But again, there's so many of them. It's been interesting working with editors and paying people to read over and look at your work. And then when it comes back, there's still errors, right? And you're like, okay, again, back to that aha moment. It's just what it is. But you're like, now, I'll be honest, I tend to plug a few things into ChatGPT, and that saves me money in a different way, right? So I think it's that evolution of where we're going also in the literary world. There's been a lot of learning curves, let's just put it that way. But aha moments, I think you were my aha moment.
Yeah, you're so funny. There's 2 things you said there that I want to explore a little further. The first one is the need for perfectionism, right? I think all of us in some way are a recovering perfectionist. And so you do have to just give up that control and say, okay, I know that there's probably going to be something that we find after it's published and I've done my launch and all these other things. And it comes back and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we missed this. It's the reality of it. It's our human nature. And we're so taught to be perfect when we're little. And as we grow up, that kind of gets more instilled in us, especially with school and those and work and all those kinds of things in our lives. And writing a book is like this lesson in it's never going to be perfect.
No.
You might read the book 10 years from now and go, I wish I would have written that differently, or I wish I would have said this in this way.
Absolutely.
And it really is just saying, you know what, it's perfect for what it was at that time. And you have to just let it go. Right.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. And it is, aside from being recovering in a variety of different ways, also a people pleaser. That's a whole nother podcast.
Oh yes. I'm definitely a recovering people pleaser for sure.
But that also ties into the perfectionism and wanting to be able to control. We control because we fear, right? Fear of failure, fear of not being perfect, kind of thing. So that has been my kryptonite. And I think going through this process and then also being in the company of other women who we're all messy. We're all just trying to figure it out. And that has been part of that humility piece and just comfort. It's interesting. And also I've learned, for me, everyone has a different journey, but I write and have written and continue to write these books because it's been a source of healing for me. It's been a source of me making sense of life, my own, just the world. And I'm not looking to be on the New York Times bestseller list. I'm looking to leave a legacy, so to speak, break generational patterns for my kids, for other people who maybe aren't strong enough in this moment to speak their truth.
Yeah, exactly. And there's another thing that you mentioned that I think is worth noting is the AI piece of it. AI is one of those new technologies, new to us. I think it's been around a lot longer than we realize, but it's really new to us, and especially in the publishing world. And that's one thing that it's great for doing editing or checking facts or anything like that, but it still does not replicate your authentic voice. And I think
Sure.
that's where the humanity in writing comes from. So I'm glad that you use AI and technology to check your work, but I also love the fact that you wrote this from the heart.
And I do both. That's the beauty of it. It's like a cacophony of individuals that come together, right? Because it is, I have my own, whether always start with my husband, bless him. He's probably, can you stop sending these things? But I like using Chat GPT of late because it just kind of polishes it a little bit. It'll give me different words that maybe I wouldn't have thought about or whatnot. So in that regard, I always joke, I say it's like my thought partner. So I like that in that regard, but it has never precluded me from, again, sending it to an editor, copy editor, proofreader. It's just another tool kind of thing, which I think is what we have to realize it is. It's not something to, yeah, it'll never be your voice and it'll never have agency. Well, maybe
Yes.
it may be sentient at some point, but not in our lifetimes.
Exactly. Yes. Good point. Good point.
And
Good
that's a
point.
whole nother podcast as well.
Yes, exactly. So as you started working with a publishing partner, what was this shift? What was the change in doing it on your own versus and we'll get to your new book too, because I want to talk about that for sure. But what was the change in going from bootstrapping it to working with people who were vetted and understood the process of publishing?
I think for me, writing in itself, you're in a silo, right? You're alone. I'm okay with that. I love solitude. I love being this journey with myself and getting through it. But for me, because I shepherded myself through 1 and 2, it was even sweeter when the universe decided to present my girl guru, Susie, and just saying, you're my moment. So it's been lovely being able to have that opportunity to utilize your strengths, right? Because I know I've done it, but you take the weight off me, which I loved, right? Because I was a one woman show and it's exhausting. So then you're able to take that energy and put it somewhere else. And whether that's into more writing or whatever that may be. So for me, it was refreshing. It was very light in a sense of the load that I had been lifting. And again, we're on the Susie show right now, but let me tell you, you are next level efficient, and this girl loves efficiency. Like
Yeah.
you're
Ooh,
on it. Like
thank you.
you're there before I am sometimes, and that's a gift because I
Well,
know I have that ability. So that again, the layers that you bring for me have been just next level impressive and glorious.
thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that you're correct in saying that once you have a support team, it does take that weight off of you. There is something very real, and I've talked about it many times in other circles, and it's called author exhaustion. And typically I see it happen when you've been through the writing and the editing, and then you're just like, I can't look at this book again, right? You're like, done. And this is where, when you have a publishing partner, that feels like relief because you know that the book is still going to be finished. At the same time, it's not all on your shoulders. So yeah. And of course, working with,
Teamwork. It's a team, right?
yeah,
And that's it. Like again, we have solo sports, but there's something about team sports, right? There's that camaraderie, there's that back and forth. It's, oh, hey, you forgot this, or oh, what about this? It's like a built-in think tank. And how beautiful is that?
yeah, that's very true. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your current book.
Ooh.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
We can. It's been a journey, another kind of journey. Gosh, where to begin? I'm excited about it. It's something that had always been within me. Everyone has a story within them, right?
Sure.
We hear that, and I do believe that. And it's, I guess, what you decide to do with it. And you can write it, never publish it. It can be just a lifelong journal. But this one was unique because I wanted to. The premise is that my father had passed when I was 11 years old. He was 30. He was my hero. Like I was a tomboy. We would go four-wheeling together and I was like 9 years old. Mortified my mother, but I'm still here to talk about it. But so when he died, it was such an abruption into my life. And I don't think grief it ebbs and flows. And I don't think you ever get over the death of someone. So for me, I didn't really understand it. And I definitely never dealt with his death per se. So as I aged, as I grew into adulting, getting married, having children, you start realizing some of those skeletons that are down there, they decide to come up, and you can choose to dust them off and understand what they are, or keep them down there and then other things occur. So writing this was like a life review for me. And what I did, which again worked out really kind of lovely, well, at least I think it did. We'll soon find out, but I wrote it in epistolary form, which is diary format. So it's a memoir per se, but it started when I was 11 years old, writing to my dad right after he passed, saying, "Life sucks. Why did you leave me? I'm mad at God," because I had grown up going to church. And then my mom was not emotionally available for me. So then that was a whole nother journey. So this book is a unique one for me. I always joke because I've always written personal narratives and nonfiction. One day maybe I'll write fiction, but I don't know. I don't know if I have it in me. We'll see. But
I just have to say, I love the style of this book. And for those listening, the book title is Love Me. And it's really kind of insight as to a young woman who's writing from age 11 until adulthood into her 40s. And it really, you can see the growth, the personal growth in your letters to your father. But you also mentioned that there was a lot of healing that went on during that process with your attitudes towards your mother.
absolutely. It definitely was. I think we're all living our lives, right? That's kind of sound corny, but it's true. And it's constantly shape shifting because we're constantly changing. Now, not everyone around us is, right? But yeah, it was an interesting, again, understanding of the dichotomy that I had with her and with my father, and then how that trickled out into other relationships in my life. But the really cool, another layer that came about was I had found this amazing therapist when I was probably, I don't know, 5 years into marriage. The kids were younger, and my husband's father had some, well, to say narcissistic tendencies, and I was still trying to unpack the heavy load that I had from my first family. And now I'm dealing with this. And so I needed some therapy. And she came to the rescue, was like a life preserver. And so within these diary entries of Love Me, we sprinkled in some therapy sessions. So it's a kind of a cool way to integrate just not my side, but a non-bias individual saying, this is why you felt this way. This is why you felt abandoned. This is why you're struggling with your marriage at 40 because unresolved issues with a mother wound or a father wound or whatnot. And it's universal. That's what I found. There's nothing unique about what I'm going through. We
Right.
all have it in some form or fashion. It's just if we want to admit it.
I actually think that this could be a new trend, and you could be literally a trendsetter in creating this type of journalistic diary format, but with the excerpts from the therapist in the book. I think it's fascinating. I think it's groundbreaking. I feel like people are going to read this and go, "Ooh, I could do this," because everybody has diaries and journals and things like that. And then to put the therapist's comments in there too, it really gives weight to the story.
Well
It
said.
validates the process, right?
Yeah. And just making sense of it. That's really what it's all. A lot of times we don't move forward in our lives because we don't have the tools, right? And so it's just naming it and then making sense of it. And then, okay, how do we navigate forward? Again, in your clunky boat, in those choppy waters, but you just keep going, right? You don't give up.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the woo side, the faith-based side, the spirituality around this too. What things have happened in your life since you started writing books and becoming an author? What type of synchronicities have happened for you that kind of said, yes, you're on the right path?
Yeah, I think it's not just one. Again, I know it sounds like I'm being silly, but I mean it when we're going to back up and just go like present. Even you coming into my sphere when you did. And again, author exhaustion, I was there. And so the timing of that was just serendipitous, right? So that was definitely a moment. But also, I definitely am one of those individuals. I pay attention to my surroundings and I'm very keen on it could be numerology. It could be, I'm a wannabe birder. I know it's kind of silly, a wannabe birder, but
I love it.
just being in nature, there's always signs if we really pay attention. And so I would be thinking about something and should I do this? And then all of a sudden a hummingbird would just be hovering right there. Like I can hear it. And I'm like, okay, that's a sign. Right. And so
Exactly.
there's just so many, it's endless for me with those. So I've always trusted my intuition and trusted, I guess, my angels or spirits. Again, that's in your jurisdiction, but I definitely am tapped into that. It's
Yeah.
been a multitude of things, truly.
Speaking of your intuition, when was a time that you really used your intuition, or maybe you didn't use your intuition? And what was the result?
Well, I will say loud and clear, my intuition has always been on point. And when I don't listen to it, it gets me in trouble. And this is not book related, but I almost married someone I shouldn't have. But my inner Rosie, as I call her, which is my inner representative named after my paternal grandmother, she was screaming at me, like, do not marry him. Hello, like jumping, screaming, red flashy lights. I've always had that. And maybe it's just because of death touched me early with my father. And so I understood the fragility of life. So I was always aware and paying attention and listening to myself, survival. But with book one was probably my first really big on my author's journey because I had in my mind the layout. It was going to be I meet these women, whether it's my travels or people that I knew, and I would write their introduction. It would be in my voice, and then just describing the backstory, how we met, the setting, and then I would go into first person of them sharing their story, right? So that would be what the chapter layout and design would be. Well, I was fortunate enough while this was transpiring, I was still interviewing women. I had a Holocaust survivor. I had a 14-year-old with an eating disorder and anxiety. I mean, I had some powerhouse women with book one. And I was fortunate to be introduced to one of the editors from one of the major publishing houses. And there it was, right in the door. And I had chatted with her and she read over where I was and some of the chapters. And she said, well, we really like it, but we don't like the format. We want it to be more New York Times Q&A. And it was a gut punch to me. And I couldn't do it. It didn't bode well with me because it was the intimacy of these stories. It was like I'm sitting next to this woman at a kitchen table and we're having a cup of coffee, not okay, now X and then Y and then A and then B. It didn't feel right. And so I said no.
Good for you.
And
Wow. Especially when you have somebody that comes to the table that has that kind of background and is a quote, somebody in the publishing industry. And for you to turn that down, and bravo to you, because your book would have taken on a completely different tone. And I don't think it would resonate with the readers the way it does.
And I had to be true to me. And that was that intuition part. That's my inner Rosie. I was like, I was willing to sacrifice. And I'm sure my exposure, the marketing, all of that would have been very different. I probably would not have had author exhaustion, but I wouldn't have had the sweet, moments of maintaining that creative control for the sake of the women. And it was a lesson just for everyone. I chose this path and I'm sticking to it. It was harder, but it was definitely more gratifying. And so to this day, I wouldn't have changed it, but that was a really big sticking to my intuition when everyone's, no, you just change it. It's not that big of a deal. And I was like,
well, yeah. And especially since intuition and authenticity go hand in hand, right? If you had gone with the big publisher editor, it wouldn't have been that authentic feeling and it wouldn't have been authentic to you. Yeah. I'm so glad that you didn't go that direction.
And the soul of the book, I don't know if it would have been there. Like you said, that to me was soulless, like just a Q&A. Like no, I can do that in the paper. I can do that, but not in this type of book.
Right.
So anyhow, so that was definitely a trusting of one's intuition. And so I continue to do that to date.
Awesome. I love that. Okay. So people can find your books on Amazon and on Barnes and Noble. Look for the She Volume 1, 2, and 3. Your new book, Love Me, is coming out soon. We actually are working right now on going through the final layout edits, which is very exciting. And so how can people find you in order to connect with you, your community, especially the She community, because it's really powerful? How can people get a hold of you?
They can find me a couple different ways. Obviously, if you just Google my name, Shannon Hogan Cohen, you'll find me there. But sharehealempower.com is our website. So that will give you a whole plethora of information about the She community. And then shannonhogan.com is my author page that's still a work in progress. Well, it could be up, it could not be up, but it's close. We're real close. But Share Empower is definitely, you'll find me there.
Okay. And you're right. Things are always a work in progress. There's always things that we're changing on our websites and things like that. So at least they know where to go find you.
Yeah.
Because too, your book and the She community really resonates with me because it is about giving back. And that's the whole idea of cause publishing, which is the basis for me founding my company. And so I love that it just all comes together. Yeah, it's very cool.
And I appreciate you saying that. And sometimes, again, I'm not the best marketer of me, but when I did start with She One, I also at that same time created a foundation of the same name. So it's She Share Heal Empower Foundation. And what we've done, speaking of cause, all the proceeds from book 1, 2, and 3 in the She series go back into the foundation, and all those funds, in addition to private donations that we get, whatnot, go back to women within the pages of the book, pending their circumstances. And then we also give to organizations both domestically and internationally. So it's really cool. Like you said, the thread is pretty woven throughout everything that I do. And I didn't even realize it. It just happens naturally.
Because you trusted your intuition.
There it is. We love Rosie. Everyone should name their intuition. So if you haven't named he or she or it, whatever, name it.
Yeah. Thanks, Rosie. All right, thanks.
Hey,
so
Rosie.
should, you know how I love to play with my cards. Should we pull some cards and see if we can get some guidance for the listeners today?
Let's do it. I love it.
Okay. We'll do a 3-card pull. Shannon, is there a certain question that you'd like that you think might be beneficial for our audience?
Let's see. I'm supposed to say it out loud, the question?
Yes, please.
Let's see. Is sharing your story what everyone should do? Is that something that we all should do as humans, is share our story and share our truth?
I love that so much. Let's just see what the cards have to say. Okay. I'm going to say yes. And the reason why I say yes is because we got a 26 card, 26 2 plus 6 reduces to an 8. 8 is it's the number of communication. Okay. So yes, you want to share your stories. And it's the happy card. So I love this card because first of all, she's wearing a blue dress, which blue is the color of the throat chakra. So speaking words, getting your words out there. This is part of why my background and my logo are blue, is because I want people to have empowered throat chakras to share their stories, to share their experiences. Yeah, very cool. And she's dancing on top of this egg. The egg represents fertility, creation, new ideas, those kinds of things. That's just saying, hey, get out there, create something new, use your voice and share your story. There's also a little bird on this card. So that's kind of like a little bird told me. You might have some kind of inspiration or something that's going to give you the key to unlock that idea. And then, of course, there's balloons. Those to me are birthdays. Set your own intention by starting your book by your next birthday. Yeah, every person can do that that's listening to this.
I like that. I like that.
Now we got
I like that there was a bird.
I do too. There's a bird. Okay, the next card we got is a 33 card. So the number 33 is the number of a master teacher. So this card is chaos and conflict. And this really feels to me like what we were talking about, the author exhaustion. There are times when you're going to go through what seems like chaos and conflict, especially in today's world. Things are just very unstable, right? But you'll notice that in the picture, there's a zebra that is wearing a giraffe's coat. The zebra now understands that he's not a giraffe. So you need to remove the coat of the giraffe, expose your true authentic self, the zebra, underneath. And when you do this, you have the ability to teach others to do the same.
Wow.
Wow, I love that.
I like that too. What happens when you get pushback from people that don't want you to tell your story? How about that? That's a whole other drawing.
That's a legit question, because there are people that sometimes you don't want to upset the apple cart within your family, your community, your friends, those kinds of things. So that's when you have to trust your intuition and say, okay, well, I need to share my story, but maybe I can do it without those people's real names. Maybe I change some of the names in the story. Maybe if it's really difficult, maybe I do it under a pen name. Maybe I publish under a pen name. There's all those kinds of things. So, don't let fears stop you. And here's what's interesting is right as you were saying that, the card that I pulled was a 25 card. So 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 is a lucky number. It's also the number of God, creation, source, right? And the card is round and round. You can see that it has this shell on it. And it really is saying, don't let yourself go round and round in the cycles without saying, okay, I'm taking the next exit on the roundabout kind of thing. Do something different. You're supported by your angels, guides, and God to step into your own authenticity and to share your story. And again, the card is blue. So throat chakra.
So powerful.
Out there, share your story.
Serendipitous. I love it.
Right? Those are some good cards. So
that's some good cards.
I think it's great. Shannon, do you have any last or parting words for our listeners?
I don't. Just all stories matter. So share it and use Susie as your girl guru.
Well, thank you, Shannon.
Or book doula, I guess it is. Book doula.
Book doula, yes. Well, thanks, Shannon, for being here. And if you found this interesting, I encourage you to join me for the next episode and be sure to subscribe. Every week, one lucky listener who subscribes and posts a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes will be entered to win the drawing for the grand prize, a private VIP day with me personally, valued at $25,000. So be sure to subscribe and post a review. Until then, keep on writing so you can finish the damn book. We'll see you next time.
So that's it for today's episode of Finish the Damn Book. Head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener every single week that posts a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes will win a chance in the grand prize drawing to win a $25,000 value private VIP day with Susan herself. Head on over to finishthedamnbookpodcast.com and pick up a free copy of Susan's gift and join us on the next episode.